everyone going? Good day? All right, so it was a great moment actually when Gary asked me to come along to this event. It made me really reflect on my career and my history of getting into this place. So it was almost roughly 20 years ago when I started at university, and I thought about where you all are now and how jealous I am of what you've gone straight into. Gary mentioned I went into PwC, so think accounting firm, very traditional corporate business. I remember doing lots of debits and credits. Who had to do accounting courses in their degree? How fun is that? So lots of that, and I remember sitting there one day thinking, my goodness, I don't think I want to do this for the rest of my life. And it was about 2007 when I was telling everyone in the partnership about Google, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy, right? What is Google? Okay. After that moment, I thought, I've got to get a job over there. And I applied to Google. I went through all the process. There was probably only about 15 people working in the company there. And to fast forward now, there's 1,400 Googlers in Australia and New Zealand, which is quite amazing. I applied for the role, went through 4 interviews, then had an interview with someone in Singapore. It didn't work out. So I ended up not getting to Google because they put a global freeze on recruiting. I then went into banking, and I had a really interesting time. I worked through institutional banking at Westpac through the GFC. That was an amazing experience. I learned more about business and dealing through tough times than ever any other time in my career. But look, long story short, when I went through the next few things, I sat down one day and realized, where do I really want to work? And what industry do I want to be in? It was Google. So I contacted a friend, and that networking paid off, and that's when I got the job. So that was sort of 6 years ago. And I guess the point is, this is an amazing, what Gary and the team at Indago are putting on today is such an impressive event, and it's so good to see all this new life coming into the industry, because where you are starting is a super interesting place. And hopefully as we go through some of the cool things that Google are doing today, you can realize the journey that you're on and the opportunities that are only just beginning in this place. Sound interesting? All right. So this thing here, right, thinking back, this is we went back 20 years ago when I started university. This is going back 10 years. This is when this thing came out. It's hard to imagine. It's been 10 years. This thing changed the world, right? This is the impact this device has had on all the things that marketers do, how brands connect with consumers. But for us as consumers themselves, the information we have in our pocket is phenomenal. So again, this is really the opportunity that we all have in this quorum to try and address this opportunity. I think the thing with Google, right, if you think about where we've come and where we're going, we honestly missed the boat with mobile phones. We really did. And we've done a damn good job to catch up, but if I'm completely honest, we weren't ready for it. We didn't realize how much impact it would have. What we did do well was we sort of changed our position and went towards a more of a machine learning, artificial intelligence opportunity, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. But let's step back and look at this thing. When mobile came out and when we started to talk to advertisers about this device, we started to bring up this concept of micro moments. And this was all about these new points in time with a mobile device, people being able to find opportunities to learn about things, to get information, to find directions, all these new micro moments that never existed before. And fast forward a few years, this has kind of become pretty much standard discussion in the industry. But we know this is not stopping yet. It's continuing to become more of a thing. What we see people searching for now has changed significantly in the last 10 years. And I mean, look at the detail that we all go to. Some of us are extremely obsessed with knowing what we're looking for and how much detail we want to go into it. Best shower curtains. Who the hell searches for best shower curtains? It's just a shower curtain, right? Well, that's what I would have thought, but obviously people are looking for it. And that's why we need to basically think about marketing in a completely different way. There are all these different micro moments and these moments of intent with sort of medial products that we thought weren't important to address as a marketer have now become super great opportunities. But people have also become much more impatient with these micro moments and mobiles. So we've seen now, in the last 12 months, we've seen double search queries on same-day shipping. So the expectations are going up. And we're also seeing this impatience in people looking for things today, tonight. And when is a restaurant? I want something that's open now. So this mobile technology has brought this completely new expectation on the consumer. But when connecting with the consumer, this is where Google looked at the opportunity to harness voice. And when you look at the capacity of what voice can do and compare it to, for example, writing, if you look at writing, it's basically 7 times more words can be delivered in the same time in voice. And then you've got almost 3 times as much in terms of writing on a keyboard. So the amount of volume of dialogue and connection you can get through voice is much faster than those other medium. But you're probably all thinking, yeah, we've used voice. There's things like dictaphones, we've used them before. But why is this such a big thing now? And the reason is because before, we talked to a computer and you know what would happen, it wouldn't understand us. Right? Now, the big change we've seen in the last 4 years is that we've been able to get this voice recognition to basically the same level of a human being, which is a pretty big feat. And that's why you're seeing all of this explosion of basically talking dialogue devices like Google Home, our phones, but even beyond that, if you think Amazon, all these other businesses are really tapping into this voice opportunity because we can now have a meaningful conversation with technology and it will understand us and give us something back. So we really benefit from getting a lot of information on these signals and what people are doing on mobile devices. This is basically, the amount of voice queries that we're seeing already is pretty significant. So you can see from this projection, we expect 50% of all queries on Google to be voice in 2020. And this is not a long-term thing, right? 2020 is not that far away, but even now, you can see 25% of 16 to 24-year-olds are already using search on their mobile. Is anyone here using search on their mobile? Yes, it's kind of mixed. It's kind of half the room. So this is what we're going to see. This explosion is taking off, and this is where the opportunity comes going forward. It's not going to stop. These devices, you know, if you look at, we had an I/O. Does anyone know what Google I/O is? So it's our developer conference. That is focused on more software and capability, and I've got a few things I'll run through you there later on. But if you go back to October last year, we came out with a number of new devices. So a new Pixel phone, a new Google Max speaker. But you look at Amazon, they've got the new Alexa screen. There's smartwatches coming out every month. This is just the start. This is going to absolutely continue to take off. This is where the opportunity is. So for a marketer and for a brand, this is where we need to figure out what we do to address this change. People are looking for this assistance. They expect experiences that are helpful, personal, and frictionless in their everyday life. So again, this age of assistance, sorry, I'm going to take this thing off. There we go. We'll see if it stays there. So assistance, this isn't just about what Google needs to do. This is, and helping customers. This is about what a brand does to address that opportunity to tap into that assistance. So brands need to figure out where people want this frictionless, helpful experience, how that they connect with the consumer. And what do we mean by assistance? So assistance, the old sort of form of assistance, the traditional term was just helping getting things done. But if I pivot with all this information that I talked to you about today and what assistance is now means for us as marketers, if we look at the opportunity, the opportunities that assistance will mean to drive growth through anticipation and by satisfying intent throughout the consumer journey. So that's a real shift. That is the moment we're in now, and that's where the huge amount of opportunity and challenge comes in industry. Why is this sort of all happening, and why is this so relevant at this point in time? I talked about the change in voice recognition and technology sort of getting to a point where machine learning and artificial intelligence recognize voice. But with all these devices, all of these different touch points, the consumer journey going through micro moments on different devices. The consumer journey has never been more complicated. So when people like Gary and his team try and work with an advertiser and say, this is your customer journey, there's not a customer journey, there's not 10 customer journeys, there's thousands of them, right? So the challenge has been, how do we measure that? How do we understand it? How do we know what intent there is? How do we stitch it all together? That's where we've had real trouble as an industry getting that right. So for Google, we have a huge advantage in this place. So for one, when I talked about that change in that pivot to machine learning, that is a real shift in Google's direction that we saw sort of 3 years ago that I think has got it really right, because that machine learning is helping us understand this complexity. And it's through this network of users that we have that huge advantage. So we understand intent in so many ways because of all the customers that are using our products. There's 1 billion users on each of these different properties alone across the world. So through those consumer journeys and understanding how people are moving through mobiles, networks, Google Maps, Android phones, this is giving us amazing potential to really harness that marketing opportunity. So it gives us really rich insight about today's individuals. So there's a few different components to this. One, the data gives us really a good understanding of what they want, and that's through the intent. It's the context is all about what they'll find useful at any given moment, and then who they are. So the identity piece is, it's understanding who the individual is, or what that type of customer is looking for as they go through that journey. But let's look at how those things have sort of helped. Think about Google Lens. Has anyone seen Google Lens or used it? Okay, great. So Google Lens, there's been a lot of really exciting stuff happen with this in the last 2 days. But Google Lens, this is a really good example of helpful technology. So being able to go to somewhere completely new, hold up your phone, you can see in this example, and be able to see what you're looking at is an incredible piece of technology and capability that we would never have dreamed of sort of 10 years ago, before the phone sort of smartphone existed. Google Photos. This is amazing. So this is frictionless, right? This is the second piece. Who remembers sort of organizing digital photo albums and putting tags and trying to, how many photos do we all take, right? Imagine, I know my photo albums are a disaster at home. I've got so many. This is an example. I don't know if you've tried this out, but if you use Google Photos, you can see now the artificial intelligence is recognizing what's in all the images. So now you can simply just type, for example, here, dog at the beach, and you're going to get all the photos of dogs at the beach, which is pretty amazing. So now when I look for my kids playing football, I just type in kids football, and I see all my kids in their Saturday sports programs, which is unbelievable. This is really new. Did anyone see this 2 days ago? Okay. This was cool. This got me really excited. I tried to get a video of this for you, but it's seriously so new that we don't even have the capabilities or the material in Google yet to show. But this is using a combination of Google Maps and AR. And in the demonstration, if you have a look at it on the developer's site, there's a much longer video, which I didn't want to sit you through. Basically, Maps is going from just, when you're walking around town and it's a little blue dot, and you're like, hang on a minute, but where am I? Am I in this corner? What corner? Lift up the phone, and you can see here it will basically show what street you're on. And what's awesome is this fox jumps in, and the fox will kind of say, come this way, and it'll jump behind the building, right? So it's pretty amazing stuff. So what I'm saying is true. It is just starting now, right? There's so much more to come. And then obviously the personalized experience. So this is all about being, it's once upon a time we marketed to groups of audience types. It's not that anymore. People need a personal experience. What this person looks for in their assistant is not what you're going to look for or you're going to look for. We need to be there to address that personal challenge and opportunity. I did manage to get one video from I/O this week, so I wanted to show you this. Some may have seen it, but this for me is another great example of where basically the cutting edge of the assistance opportunity. So we'll see if this works.
The progress with the assistant. As I said earlier, our vision for our assistant is to help you get things done. It turns out a big part of getting things done is making a phone call. You may want to get an oil change schedule, maybe call a plumber in the middle of the week, or even schedule a haircut appointment. You know, we are working hard to help users through those moments. We want to connect users to businesses in a good way. Businesses actually rely a lot on this, but even in the US, 60% of small businesses don't have an online booking system set up. We think AI can help with this problem. So let's go back to this example. Let's say you want to ask Google to make you a haircut appointment on Tuesday between 10 and noon. What happens is the Google Assistant makes the call seamlessly in the background for you. So what you're going to hear is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
How can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd.
Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around?
At 12 p.m.
We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15.
Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.?
Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for?
Just a woman's haircut for now.
Okay, we have a 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. is fine.
Okay, what's her first name?
The first name is Lisa.
Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great. Have a great day. Bye.
The progress with us.
Is that crazy or what? That's unbelievable. So again, whatever you think the opportunity is now, like me, when I turned on the live stream of this I/O keynote on Tuesday, I got blown away, even as a Googler, of what's coming and what's in the pipes. So super exciting stuff. Assistance is the new battleground for growth, right? So again, this is the new untapped frontier. This is where we're all going to have to work together to try and figure out how we make brands connect to consumers and make really good experiences for people trying to grow their organizations. Here's one example. So this is, I wanted to give you an example of sort of augmented reality. And again, the assistants making something really helpful for a business perspective. So this is a friend of mine actually in the US, this is a US company, so they were looking to get a bit of furniture, and they wrote to me to show me this Google Lens thing, and they said, I use this for Wayfair. It wasn't this chair, this is just a sample, but essentially they were able to look at their apartment. I think it was a dining table. They picked a dining table. The dining table appeared in the room in the right size. They liked it. They then put the order through all on the phone in that moment. That's the kind of seamless experience that we've never seen before, which is truly amazing. Again, here's some other good examples. So the first one is a US example of Ram trucks. We've all seen the customized car experience on the web. This went even more detailed and went right down to trim colors, stereo systems, just the complete customized experience that you could do on your mobile phone before you went into the dealership. The second one, so Maybelline, they were looking at what audiences were searching for, and there's this thing called contouring apparently. It's like we sort of work makeup. I have no idea what this is. But anyway, it's a huge opportunity. Maybelline realized that this is where they listened to what people were engaging in, and they said we could really help here. So using the mobile experience and the power of assistance and machine learning AI, they were able to show a customer how contouring would work on their face, which is pretty cool. And then finally, Starbucks. I hope I don't offend anyone here, it's terrible coffee, but anyway. Starbucks, huge in the US. A lot of customers don't want to wait for their coffee order, right? So what you'd see, they did a lot of research, and they saw customers were walking past all these stores, and they were looking in, seeing the line was too big and just ignoring it. So using that research and that data, they started to build this sort of automated opportunity for when you walk past a Starbucks, you could put an order in, go into store, and it would be ready. So that's just that's a simple example, but again, it's thinking of that business problem, it's using this new technology to solve it, and it's creating a great opportunity for growth. And those mobile purchases now account for 10% of those purchases for Starbucks. So it's pretty amazing, the impact. But where do we start? So we think about what we can do. Looking at the assistant, there are 3 things I want to talk about: showing up, wising up, and speeding up. Right? These are the 3 tangible, really meaningful discussions you can have when you're looking at this opportunity. So this is an old saying. This is from Ralph Emerson. It's a really, really old saying. It's kind of, there's arguments as to what it meant, because no one ever got from Ralph what he was truly saying. But one of the, I guess, meanings of this was the old way of marketing was, as you can see, build a better mousetrap and the world will beat the path to your door. So just be better at marketing, create a better product. That's all you needed to do. It's not the same, right, anymore. It's absolutely not enough, because people want all those things we've talked about. They need to have convenience. They need personalized experience. You need to be way better as marketers to be able to address this opportunity. So when we look at sort of showing up, there's a real challenge in the human behavior that we're seeing, and it's largely because of the mobile device. Right? We're now engaged in this device that goes everywhere with us. So go back to 2000, apparently we had a 12-second attention span. So we had more of an attention span than a goldfish. But sort of cut today, we're down to 3 to 5 seconds of attention, right? Because people don't have patience anymore. It all goes back to that slide where twice as many people want same-day shipping. We've seen all this growth in wanting things open now. So the attention is not there. So the fact that a brand could just say this is all about reach and getting to the customer, it's not about that. It's about you need to be there and you need to be really interesting for that consumer. When we talk about being there, there's some simple things we can do. I'm using Google examples here, but this is for all media and all sorts of connection and digital marketing. But for example, for AdWords, it's making sure when the user is looking for a product that your ad is relevant and it's showing on that device. Even from a free point of view, this is really important. It's making sure the SEO component of this is critical. You want to make sure that your advertisers, free traffic is efficient, optimized, and right at the top of where it should be based on what that audience is looking for. And then finally, Google My Business Listings. Again, it's another free product, but it's making sure you all know when you look at a business listing, if the times of opening is not right, if their address is wrong, if detail isn't there, that's a really crappy experience. So that's free. We've got to make sure these sorts of foundational things are right so that our customers are getting to the businesses. Target are a brand that sort of looked at this. They looked at their business and they saw that a lot of customers were going in store, looking at products, and then they were looking on their mobile device to look at comparisons for others. So what they did was they essentially put a radius targeting around the store where the user was. So if they were in, say, Chatswood, they'd show advertising for other products in Target that were for people in that store. So instead of them being drawn out of the Target experience, they were now right in that brand, and when they're looking for other opportunities, they then see, hang on a minute, I didn't think of, whether it's a vase or whatever it is. It brought that relevant, personalized experience to that user there and then, and it had huge impacts, as you can see. So wising up, right? This is crazy, and this probably won't surprise you, but 1 day is the time spent by millennials on their smartphone each week. That's 1 whole day out of 7 days. That's a lot of time on the smartphone. So what that means is that the millennials are all pretty switched on. You guys know what's going on these devices, and your expectations are very high. So we need to make sure that we're making the most of that engagement and that opportunity, right? We are able to use really interesting signals and get the data through in Google that a lot of people don't. And you can see this when you search. But I find this really funny. So looking at sort of what people see in social media, right, compared to what we see people actually search for. So social media, let's say you're putting something out there, right? So if this was my wife, this is the kind of thing she'd put up, right? It's not true. I'm probably thinking too highly of myself. Best husband is awesome. My husband is dope. I wish my wife would say this about me. My husband is my life, right? This is when you go onto the social media, this is all the good stuff. You see all this, right? But there is actually a real need to personalize content for customers, because in real life, all these people we're marketing to on these brands, they're actually searching for something completely different. And the truth really comes out in there. A true intent is shown in Google search. So it's probably more me. My husband is selfish. My husband is boring. It's me. My husband is lazy. Husband is depressed, always angry, leaving me, right? So it's totally sad, but it's real life, okay? And this is why all this data and all this information as marketers has become so much more important for us. There are people who have these questions that need answers to. There's another really good example here. So beauty, right? So social media, my eyebrows are on fleek. Who knows that term? I learned about this today. So it sounds like it's originated from like eyebrows being really perfect, but you can kind of use it in a general context, right? Like someone is on fleek. Is this true? Okay, good. I gotta get this right. My eyebrows are on point. My eyebrows are thick, right? So these are all the things that are coming out in social media. But what people are really asking are these questions. My eyebrows are thinning, too thin, crooked, too short, not growing back, right? So think about if you're a beauty brand, or you're a pharmaceutical, or someone that could connect with an audience that you can help with these moments. You need to be really smart about the message you're getting across to those users. It's not just about the perfect message anymore. What people really want is sometimes help. Okay, Sonos saw this opportunity to be smarter and know who their audience was. They looked at life moments. So one example would be someone just got married. They could see someone's in market. They used our data and they said, someone's in market here because they're just getting married. They're looking at all these wedding things. So that would potentially be a moment where people are buying a new house, moving in somewhere new. So who else would they target other than that new homemaker to get an awesome Sonos system in, right? And again, this wising up, this real messaging worked and they had great results. Final one, speed up. This one cannot be underestimated. And this is a real challenge and a real immediate opportunity for us to help our customers. This isn't about, spending money on media, right? It isn't about buying big fancy ads. This is about making sure that the consumer has a really fast experience. So 53% of visits are abandoned if a mobile site has more than 3 seconds to load. I can tell you now, there aren't many mobile sites that load in 3 seconds. In fact, 15 seconds is the average. So if your customer, right, says, my site loads at 10 seconds, that's 5 seconds faster than the average. It doesn't matter because 53% of the visitors have already dropped off. 3 seconds is where it needs to be, right? So this is really, really important stuff. And there are a couple of things, right, that we're doing at Google. We've got a couple of tools. So there's Speed Scorecard. This allows you to put in a URL and you can test the speed of that site. What's even more interesting is this one, which looks at the monetary implications for a business, right, in terms of impact if that site speed is too low. So you're looking at the cost of what a visitor would bring, and then you're looking at the drop-off rates, and you're basically looking at the lost business opportunities. So this, again, if you're speaking to an advertiser about this, this is a way to really put the fear of God into them as to what they're missing out on. Because I can tell you, a lot of people think it's fine. My speed site is fine. I'm not missing any opportunity. So again, speed up is the final big one there. Domino's, I was very fortunate to work with these guys and Don May. Does anyone who Don May is? Yeah? This guy is unbelievable. Like, the employment thing aside and their paying staff, that was another completely big issue. But let's just go to the technology side of the business. Don started a couple of pizza shops in Queensland. He had a couple of pizza shops. He then got a Domino's franchise. Long story short, he ended up buying out the whole franchise. He owns all APAC Domino's. He's bought 2 different pizza brands in, I think, France and Germany. The guy's got huge aspirations. He's turned his small business into something really big, a big empire. But if you ask Don, what is your business? He won't tell you he's in pizza. He'll say he's in technology. All right? Pizza is just the product that the technology brings. So he saw this opportunity to, in all these things we've talked about today, to better connect with the customer on a mobile device, and did a lot of things. So they used assistants, right? And they added 15 ways to order a Domino's pizza. So using this technology, more than 60% of orders are online and more than half of them are on mobile through creating all those new opportunities. And they reduced 25 steps of ordering down to 5. So if any of you have ordered Domino's, it's super easy now. Your favorite order will come up. There's even prompts that sometimes put offers in your inbox. And then you can see exactly where the pizza is. You can track it to your house, right? That's a great example of real life addressing the opportunity to better connect with the customer. So, in all of this, I guess going back to my opening statement, I genuinely am jealous that you're in this place in such an early part of your career that I took 15 years to get into. Now is definitely the time to be here. There are huge opportunities. I can tell you all the customers that I speak to, and we speak to some pretty big businesses, they have so much to figure out. They are going to need a hell of a lot of support to get there. And if you speak to Gary and the team, you'll hear about all those challenges that they speak about every day. So the exciting thing is there's going to be really cool technology. Google will be part of it. There's going to be other businesses that are part of it. But you should definitely be excited and take this opportunity to really make sure that all these things that people can do and the ways that brands are connecting to consumers are done it the best way they can. So in saying that, I'm finished the presentation. I really appreciate your time. I'm excited for you all. I think we're going to have a few questions. So I will, there we go, click to the next one. All right, so these have all come up. So you guys you've been typing this while I've been here? You've been listening to me or typing? All right, what's the best way to get a graduate job at Google? Good question. So, has anyone spoken to Dave and Hitesh today? How many? Not bad, boys. There's still a few empty hands aren't up yet. But so Dave and Hitesh, we work in the same business together. Great opportunity today. You can definitely connect with them after this session. Some of you already have. We have a graduate program, internship program that's open. We need to have applications in Monday, right? The timing has worked out that it's Monday. So that's probably the best way to do it, but you need to get that in quickly, and you also need to do it at a pretty good level because there's a lot of competition. All right. Best perk at working at Google. That is a good question. There are a lot of them. Has anyone been to Google? Okay, we've got one. All right, so a few people have been. Great. So we have a lot of different perks. The obvious ones are we get lunch cooked for us, breakfast, dinner, all those things. We've got game rooms. True story, okay? This week, I probably work too much and don't enjoy the fun stuff enough. I had 2 colleagues who were playing FIFA in one of the video game rooms. I got 2 kids. They both dominate me on FIFA now. They're way better than me. It's really annoying. I haven't played it for probably 6 months. These guys, they thought they were going to destroy me. They said, come on, Brett, you've got to play FIFA. I'm like, mate, I've got to do work. But I said, you know what? I've done plenty of work. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play these guys on FIFA. So I sat with the 2 boys. One of them gave me the control. The other one just laughed at him because I beat him. It was the most humiliating thing forever. So that's a great example. Just having that engagement, that culture, ping pong. For me, the best thing is the people. 100% the people. I've worked at Macquarie Bank, PwC. I've been really fortunate to work with some pretty amazing people. But there's something about Google that you get really driven, smart, interesting people to work with every day. It's amazing. All right. How is Google planning to monetize voice? That's a great question. This is part of the journey the business is going on now. You can see that hairdresser thing that came out 2 days ago. We haven't figured this out yet. Right? We have not figured it out. The one thing I'll tell you is this. What Google does really well is they don't ruin the user experience for the sake of the commercial benefit. Right? Now, don't get me wrong, we're all about profitability, and that's 100% the objective of Google. That's why we do all these cool things, because we're thinking long term. But when we figure out how to do that in a way that the user gets the right experience, that's when that will start to happen. So I think it's going to vary. One example would be, look, if you look at Google Lens, you can see as we build profiles of streets, you can walk through the street and you can see different brands or restaurants and things pop out in that Google Lens. So that for me would be a no-brainer that you could basically use that as an advertising billboard. That's one example. Won't AI kill all marketing jobs? That's a big question. All right. So I've given you the answer to this today in the presentation. You can see what AI has done. It's actually created all these new frontiers and this new level of depth and connection with consumers and brands that we haven't had before. So what I think is going to happen, and what I know from working in the industry, it doesn't matter how smart our systems get, how automated they are. We need people and good people to make sure that we're doing the hard things right and we're driving the strategies of our customers. The automation doesn't take that over. It just creates scale. It creates new insights and new opportunity that we as professionals are going to need to harness. So that's my personal perspective, and hopefully you feel that as well. All right, does anyone have a question in the audience they want to ask me? I feel weird answering a screen. Does anyone want to ask me a question? Here we go. So this is so new, right? I don't even know that, because you could see Sundar's basically shown that 2 days ago. I couldn't believe, to be honest, even that level of connection blew me away, because what you're seeing is this reactive discussion going on between one point to another. I'm not sure where that stops at the moment. The one thing that I've seen before I saw this is we've gone from this place where, okay, so you'd say, hey, Google, and you'd say, when are the Swans playing? They'd say they're playing tomorrow night, 7:30. Then you'd say, hey, Google, what's the weather tomorrow night at the Sydney SCG? What we've seen now is that has become much more of a dialogue. So you don't need to keep going, hey, Google. So it's like, hey, Google, when are the Swans playing? Tomorrow night. Who's playing in the team, right? So it's this ongoing discussion where you don't have to stop and start and reiterate a question. It's starting to adapt and understand and predict what your next sentence is. So I'm not sure where it's going to stop or where it breaks. Yes?
Just one last question. I know you're in marketing, but I want your personal opinion about the voice thing. I found it a bit creepy that it sounded a lot like a human. It didn't even disclose that it was a machine.
Yeah.
What if children used that, or like...
Mate, I think this is, so I don't know, right? But all I know is this is just being shown to an audience now. So this is where, again, Google, they're showing the capabilities of the technology. How it's applied in commercial sense and practice will be a whole other thing. Yeah. All right, and so that, I think, is all the questions. I've really enjoyed, so I'm going to be around with the guys, so feel free to come up and ask any others. But I've really enjoyed it. Super excited that you've all got into this program, and thank you for the afternoon.